I'd just like to give you a little bit of an impression. I'm one of the few international students here at the school. I'm originally from Germany. And as you could already hear from Dr. Lenschowski's talk, it is certainly a somewhat American-centric school. But as he mentioned, there's a great interest of international students here at the school as well. Because of the nature of the institute, it is focusing on intelligence, counterintelligence, international affairs. I personally do the Statecraft and International Affairs program, and I'm focusing on cultural diplomacy and political warfare. Coming from Germany, there is a very particular interest in the Cold War, of course, but also in the German-American relationship in particular, and I consider myself a strong transatlanticist. I have my own personal opinions of certain things, certainly, and I've looked around here in Washington, D.C. in particular to find a school that would cater to international affairs, that allows me to branch out and particularly focus on my transatlantic aspect. And I think IWP provided me with a lot of great opportunities. I got some original documents with which I could do some research during the 1970s in Germany to do counter-propaganda towards Soviet propaganda, which particularly was also preparing the West German public at that time to de-radicalize from the '68 movement, going into the NATO double-track decision, which was the stationing of the Pershing II rockets and the SS-20 rockets in Europe. However, also if you look at more traditional aspects of German-American relations, you have, of course, Baron von Steuben, the Prussian, pretty much a Prussian First Inspector General of the United States, and of course Karl von Clausewitz, which has certainly impact on the American military and the American diplomatic tradition, as of course a huge immigration group here with German background, but that is just my personal research that IWP allowed me to do and certainly unfold in a good sense. As you could already hear, I am the editor-in-chief of the Active Measures Student Journal, which I'm going to talk a little bit about. Of course, it is very important in Washington, D.C. to get published, to get your name out. And as you know, everybody is great, everybody here is important, and everybody has something to say. So it is very difficult sometimes to find your voice or to get published in one of the larger institutions and one of the larger universities, because competition is simply just very large. So Active Measures is something we really want to nurture and to further, and it has made its rounds into Congress, and I've even sent some back to Europe as well. So your name certainly has a voice, and you will certainly be heard, and you can get involved in Active Measures, which gives you a door to increase your editing skills, to increase your publication knowledge. And we have about a five people panel that is running Active Measures each year, and we're collecting from interns, current students, and alums papers, of course, to get published. And as nicely connected as IWP is, we really try to make sure that this is getting out and your papers will be read by people who are interested in the topic. Well, of course, international relations, counterintelligence is a very specific field that, let's say, the average public doesn't often care about. You can be sure that people who do care about will actually read it too. And IWP is, of course, a very open place. It gives you a lot of leeway in your education. If you're a mid-career professional, if you're a new student, you will get a lot of guidance if you ask for it. And one of the greatest opportunities that I had here at IWP was the trip to Oxford, with which we have a cooperation. Also, Dan went on the trip last year too, where we actually studied one-on-one in a tutorial with an Oxford professor. People did several things. People studied British counterintelligence, intelligence services. I did Commonwealth studies and British foreign policy, which is more down my alley. But that is definitely an opportunity you should use, as well as doing internships here. So branch out. Washington is full of a lot of people who are very well connected. And of course, this is a great place to study international affairs in particular. And me as an international student, I've had a very, very good experience here. And I just got offered a job with the United Nations in New York City after my graduation in May. So your prospects are definitely very good after you're done here. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lacey Rourke. I'm a current student. I'm actually a first-year student. This is my second semester here. I'll try and be pretty brief. I'm sure you guys have some questions, and then they want us to adjourn for more refreshments. Food is always a good thing. I was asked to tell you guys a little bit about why I chose IWP. I have a slightly different track that I've started with compared to a lot of the other students. I actually work in a nonprofit organization. I run a small nonprofit that deals with families of people who have relatives who are missing in action from the Vietnam War. Because of that, I work a lot with government officials, and I sort of fell into politics in college accidentally. I've always been a historian at heart, and so going into politics, I always looked at it from the historian's perspective. And in looking at graduate programs, had a very difficult time finding a program that taught politics and taught international relations or defense studies and encouraged a historical perspective. Everybody wanted you to look at the current situation and the future situation, whereas for me, it was important to look back at where we had been to see where we were, to see where we were going. And IWP encourages that. They force us to do that. And I think that's really important. Another thing that I really valued when I started looking at the school in comparison to a lot of the other schools, not just in the DC area, but I think if you look around the country, most larger institutions, the professors are very concerned with publication. Their tenure is more about research. You have a lot of your peers who are working, and the PhD candidate students when you're at the master's level who are teaching courses and working as your main contact. And you do have a greater access to the professors when you're a graduate student than when you were an undergraduate student. But I'd gone to very small liberal arts and sciences colleges for my undergrad work, and spent a lot of time at my professors' homes, having dinner with them, meeting their families. So that connection with my professors was very important because it really allowed me an opportunity to grow, and they began to know me. And so that was one thing I was looking for in a graduate program, and that's one thing that I've definitely found here at IWP. My professors, and not only the professors that I have, but professors that I'm meeting just around the institute when I'm here in the evenings or at a function or at a lecture or something, they take an active interest in who we are as people. They take an active interest in the work that I do, and I'm able to meet people and get different perspectives that actually help me on a daily basis. You wouldn't necessarily think that the things that you learn in an information operations and systems warfare class would do a whole lot of good when you're dealing with family members in the job that I do, but you'd be surprised. I can turn something around that I learn on a Wednesday night on a Thursday morning to my advantage, and the last 9 months have been incredible because of that. So it's, when you're looking at a school, you're not just making a decision one time to attend that school. The moment you put down that deposit, that's not the only time you're deciding to come to that school. You make an active decision each semester, and each time you re-enroll and sign up for your classes. And I've been incredibly excited the last 2 times I've signed up for classes. I'm looking forward to classes again in the fall. My cohorts in my program and in the other courses that I've taken who might be in the intelligence program or who are studying international relations, I've really enjoyed getting to know them and getting their different perspectives because, as Ben said, we do have people who are mid-level professionals, and their experiences have colored their philosophies and their way of thinking, and it's a very diverse group of students that we have here, and it allows you to open up your educational experience in a way that I don't think you'd get, and that I know you don't get at a larger institution. So I think we've got some time for questions if anybody has anything they'd like to ask the student body president, or about active measures or being an international student or anything like that.
I mean, what we essentially look for is those students whose undergraduate or professional experiences have best prepared them to feed into this sort of education which we're offering. So, I mean, while it's not limited to these fields of, political science, international relations, history, economics, etc., those certainly make you the best sort of prepared for this sort of education, which is what we're looking for. But again, that doesn't exclude other majors, other people who have decided that I want to do something different. That being said, within the application process, you know, in terms of writing samples and things like that, it's best to sort of highlight those previous research projects, papers, perhaps publications, which you have done, which really sort of specifically highlight the work you've done, the research experience you've had, which is relevant to the coursework we're having. And yeah, I mean, I'd say that's sort of the best, most straightforward answer. In terms of when you actually become a student, in terms of really getting out there and attaining the position which you desire and getting into the field which you have been sort of been looking for. Not only are the professors here obviously very well placed to help you understand the challenges and loopholes, etc., which will get you into those places, but especially and almost to a greater degree the student body. Because these are the people who are your peers, they're your study partners, they're the people who you're hanging out with on weekends, and many of these people are already in the fields that you're looking for and understand and have a more nuanced view of the current climate, and can therefore give you the best advice, not only not best practical advice on how to access these fields, but also make the phone call, help you with networking, etc. And so I would strongly encourage all students who are here to do that, to really get to know your fellow students, because these are the people who can help you out. And then again, the work I did in Afghanistan, I was wholly through a fellow student of mine and a great friend who happened to be over there and helped me out. And it, you know, it's, as you can imagine, it was an incredibly influential experience in my life, and I think many students here have a very similar story. So that's what I would recommend.